right? I was actually listening to a book this morning when I was working out, and it's called the Ragamuffin Gospel, and
Yes.
it's by Brennan Manning, and he was talking about how we live in this society that little white lies have become our autopilot. They've become
Yeah.
our default, and the little white lies are meant to like protect other people and make sure everybody's feelings are okay and make sure everybody's comfortable in the room, in the space, and like being a good host. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you said, it's this micro betrayal. I've never heard it in that context or that word. And at the end of the day, you're so exhausted because you've taken care of everything else and everyone else around you, that even if you're good at self-care, like these overachievers often are, I'm raising my hand over here, people, we are not actually doing what we are best at or what we need to do, which is living our truth. And why I think I always go back to that offset of the mask, right? The green mask when Jim Carrey wore it, like he like tried it on. It's like, this feels good. And everyone around him was so like ignited by this mask when he wore it. He would take it off and he was just kind of like the dope and the dweeb and like not so great. And so eventually he ended up being like, the mask is me. He felt more empowered by the mask, but it's only because he wasn't being who he truly was when the mask was off. And so of course he's going to look like the dweeb in the corner, or the person who's doesn't have the best ideas, or the person who's just there to get coffee and open the mail, when in fact he had all of these creative ideas and abilities and speaking opportunities, and like he could get the girl. He just never went after it truthfully. And so I think that that's like so coherent to what it is that you're talking about in a simplistic manner, associated to leadership, associated to business development, associated to living life on purpose the way God intends for us to do. The disciples could have never done what they did if they weren't courageous, if they didn't understand the activation associated to their worthiness, and absolutely if they were micro lying to themselves, if they were living in that defamed place every single day. It's not possible.
100%. 100%. I love that. I love it. I love it. And you know, when you guys stay in your lane and you speak your truth and you're in your gifts and you're in your focus, this third tool, if you look at Jesus, everybody, and the disciples, this third tool, they were laser focused.
Yeah.
They didn't see all the bells and whistles. What I see a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders do, you guys, this will help with overwhelm. This will help with high performance. You're doing 20 things in a day. I want you to pick one thing that you need to do this week that is like the number one thing, and get laser focused on it. And if you have two other close ones, can you delegate that? You guys, I have literally found, because people panic that they're, the FOMO. You guys, I see high leaders do this all the time. I need to do 20 things, Jennifer, because I need to get this speaking gig and I need to launch this program. And I'm like, okay, what is your number one? And it's launching a program. I'm like, I want you this week, majority of your hours, if you have 4 hours to spend today, if that's all you have, 3 of those 4 hours are focused specifically on launching. And believe it or not, you guys, that actually dominoes. You guys get this. When you focus on that, the other to-dos, the speaking gigs you want, whatever else you're doing that week, they actually come to you. Because the thing that lights you up that you're really prioritizing right now, and you're bringing that frequency to it, and you're so excited about it, you don't have to think about anything else, the other things start coming to you, the opportunities for speaking gigs, the other connections, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to work on that because I'm working on the number one thing and it's helping with that. I see this all the time. And if you still don't see that, you can delegate some of this. You guys, the more I do the work I do, when I focus on one thing, all the other 3 to 4, 5 things fall into place, and I get ideas for them, or delegate, or it just naturally comes to me without trying. Don't try to do so much. Laser focus. This will help with overwhelm and exhaustion and keep you sustained high performance and keep you in your zone of genius. You guys, what I talk about, your leadership frequency. We need you to be there for your clients, for your teams that way. If you're doing 20 things and not the one, you're going to come off that way, you guys. It's going to show up in your team meetings and with your clients. You can't do everything at once, but you don't have to. Everything falls into place when you do the one thing, the laser focus. So if you can do those 3 things.
Jennifer, as you're talking, it was making me think of like this association to busy. And if you've listened to the podcast before, people, you've probably heard this before, but I love to nail it home because it's an autopilot of a cultural norm that's been glamorized to say, how are you? How are things? How's the family? Oh, busy. And like, people they're smiling when they say this word that actually causes such tension, friction, literally body problems and ailments will stem from this default space that we live in. And so everyone will come to me, and this is something that I always reflect on, like, gosh, why do they think I'm so busy? Is that a projection of their busyness on me? And it's their excuse to say, oh, I didn't reach out to you. I didn't call you for that one thing because I know you're so busy. I didn't invite you to that thing because I know you're so busy. And I just literally have been cutting people off and being like, actually, I'm really intentional with my time. And whenever there's something that I'm excited about, I make time for it. It's amazing. It falls on my calendar. And it's not to say that in that moment, if I say no, that I am not making time for it, but you have that MIT list, is what I like to call it, is the most important task list. One a week, right? Or one a day. What does that look like? I love that association. And I'm sure that there are people who like haven't figured that out, because you feel like you're all these different personas and we have to show up at these different people all the time. So it's not just about busyness versus intentionality. It's also recognizing your persona, your idea of who you are, and the truth of that as an identity marker to each of the different places that you exist. So Jennifer is here as a podcaster and speaker. She's also, you know, all these other roles simultaneous, and you don't have to feel discombobulated or overwhelmed by that truth.
And I love that you just said that. You just summarized so beautifully. This is why I love Tamra, everybody, because she summarizes so beautifully. But this is, if you want to know what my definition of vitality is,
let's go.
it's basically what you said, along with health. And you guys, when we think of vitality, naturally all of us, by the way, think wellness, health, which it is. It is mind, body, soul. What are you limited in? Where do you need support in? We can go through those mind, body, soul parts if we want today. But what I will say, what it's connected to is, what is your purpose? What is your intention hourly, daily, weekly? What lights you up? What is God putting on your heart that's saying yes to that, no to that? That's what exudes your vitality frequency, you guys. When you combine the intentionality of your purpose, your path, why you're here, making intentional moves and actions during your day with your mind, body, soul integrity, because it is your vessel to give to the world. That's vitality, everybody. That's when you walk in a room and Tamra walks in a room like, oh my gosh, I want to be around Tamra. Her energy, I would say her vitality, she's so connected to her truth. She's so healthy. She's so well. And by the way, it doesn't mean she doesn't struggle, you guys. What I'm saying is I can feel that from her. That's vitality, everybody. That's her leadership frequency coming through, and she naturally draws people to her. I'm like, I want to be in her world. What is she doing? Right? And then we feed off each other. So that's what vitality truly is pulling in that purpose intentionally with what you're doing with your day, people, places, things, with the vessel that you have to do it in. Mind, body, soul. That is vitality, my friends. And when you get that figured out, if you need help in any of those areas, that's okay. We all do. I'm telling you, you become unstoppable. You are a magnet to the things you desire that you want to give back to the world, period.